Gyarados kind of obliged to shield this up so we don't get stuck with a very annoying debuff we cannot unset. The opponent force a Protect Shield, pivot into Dugong, look at the buff volt switches go. Reicho erases that Aura Spear. Dugong insanely thick, but straight in and straight out. What does the opponent send out of a Bomber Snow? Re-enters Arena, which it does. It's going to get outpaced, and Reicho about to claim back-to-back victims. Welcome back to the channel. Buckle up, because today we've got a banger of a battle submission from one of our regulars, the one and only Devoncheddar. Season 24 saw an absolutely monumental move update, and to be honest, with all the content floating around, you've probably more or less seen all the top meta threats, but there's one move in particular that has completely slipped under the radar, and that is Volt Switch. Even before the move update, Volt Switch was without a doubt the best 4-turn quick move in the game, generating 4 energy and 3 damage per turn, a very decent move. However, this season it got buffed once again, now doing 2 additional damage per Volt Switch, or 0.5 EPT if you prefer. If we look at the Volt Switch from Season 23 and previous to that, it was actually a 4-turn clone of a move that is widely recognised as the best quick move in the entire game, and that is Shadow Claw. However, now it's actually an upgrade on Shadow Claw, but the trade-off is that unfortunately it is a 4-turn move which is somewhat less user-friendly. Electric types in general have always been quite disrespected and rarely used in the Go Battle League. Recently we have seen stuff like Morpeko and Dedenne rise in popularity. Electric types are one of the best monotypes in the entire game, only having one single weakness to ground. There's only actually one other monotype in the game that has one weakness. If you know what it is, post it down below. There's 2 things in particular that I really like about this battle submission. Firstly, I really like the concept behind the team. We're on an ABB team with double buff Volt Switch users using Charjabug as the bait out Pokemon, looking to bait out any ground types. Chargerbug sub bug typing means we actually neutralise that ground type damage, and in some scenarios can actually flip switch. The next thing I really like about this battle submission is Devoncheddar's choice of moveset on Reicho in the closer position. We're opting for Aura Spear and Shadow Ball respectively. That is a magical ghost and fighting coverage that is currently only resisted by one single Pokemon in the entire game. If you know what it is, once again post it down below. Think of Pokemon like Dusknoir. Why is Dusknoir so good as a safe switch? Because it is currently unwallable. Annihilate Primeape, what's good about them? Once again, they have that magical ghost and fighting coverage, which means you can fight back in almost any matchup. With all that being said, without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we see Gyarados into Jirachi. The opponent safe switches into Azumarill. Devoncheddar opting to fire off the Crunch, potentially fishing for the debuff that unfortunately doesn't come through before sending out Reicho. Look at the Volt Switches, man. Honestly, Azumarill is one hella bulky Pokemon, but these Volt Switches are making quick work of his never-ending HP. Devoncheddar goes for Discipline Fast Move timing, 2 Volt Switches and the Charge move, only giving the opponent 1 free turn. I love the cheeky Aura Spear here. Aura Spear won't be lethal, unable to farm down. And if the opponent don't know what our second charge move is, they're very quickly about to get one shot. We're going to fire off the Shadow Ball. Does the opponent respect the damage? Unfortunately, they do. To be fair, in this scenario, they probably respected a Shadow Wild Charge. That probably would have also got the one shot. Gyarados re-enters the arena. Gyarados with his new lightning fast pacing, going to be able to outpace to the Crunch, and the opponent now in a tough position. Are they going to double shield, or are they going to lose Jirachi? The opponent invests in Jirachi. We see Devoncheddar attempt a Doom Desire catch onto Charjabug. Catch attempt unsuccessful, but the opponent likely has Aura Spear and Doom Desire, meaning they're fully walled in this matchup. We see Devoncheddar attempt to throw the discharge, but unfortunately loses CMP, and he's now forced to burn the final Protect Shield. Devoncheddar looks to make amends for his small mistake, goes for the full undercharge, wanting to Volt Switch farm down afterwards. The opponent stays in, give us that Volt Switch farm down. What is that third? Out comes Primeape, and this game is absolutely over. A Shadow Discharge going to do far too much damage to the glassy Primeape. We pivot into Gyarados. The opponent forced to throw energy. Rage Fist will be moving us from the field of play, but that certainly looks like 1 Volt Switch range to me. 1 Volt Switch knocks out Primeape, and we're off to a 1-0 start. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle. We have found ourselves a problem, and it is the Pancake, aka Unova Stunfisk, a huge core breaker for the entire line. Gyarados stays in, fires off the Aqua Tail, outpacing by a single turn and forcing the first Protect Shield of the game. Devoncheddar going to invest the Protect Shield and look to land some meaningful damage on this Pancake. Devoncheddar stays in, looks to fire off the Aqua Tail. The opponent makes a great catch, catching onto Arachnid. Clearly recognising if we're staying in such an atrocious matchup, we're likely weak to the Pancake somewhere else in the back. Devoncheddar attempts to rebank an Aqua Tail, but unfortunately Gyarados so severely chipped by them double super effective Thunder Shocks, unable to do it. The opponent fire off the Water Pulse. We just about hang on. Reach the Aura Spear. Aura Spear is resisted, but now it's a clone of Hydro Cannon. Still puts the opponent deep into the red health range. We see Charjabug enter the arena and get a very nice 2-volt switch running start, but that Pancake still very healthy and still going to be a huge problem for us. Out comes a Abomasnow greeted with the X-Scissor. X-Scissor, massive damage. Devoncheddar farms up, makes the catch back onto Gyarados, and we have found ourselves back in this battle. Weather Wall, of course, removes us from the field of play. We see the opponent pivot out, not wishing to concede a farm down, and we see the battle of the electric types. Thankfully for us, our sub-bug typing means Mud Bomb will only hit for neutral, and to be honest, the Pancake doesn't really hit that hard either, meaning one will be survivable. The question now becomes, who will win the race to the double charge move? The opponent also has a potential sack swap available in Abomasnow. Chargerbug will survive this next Mud Bomb. We're only 1-volt switch off the double X-Scissor. No, that looks like CMP. Despite Devoncheddar's best efforts, this one is going to end in heartbreaking defeat, but very, very valiant effort. Seeing one of the biggest core breakers for the team, we still made it incredibly close. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we lead Shadow Gyarados into something hopefully not named Stunfisk. Oof, that's a beautiful lead. Interesting the opponents opting to stay in. Why would you stay in this matchup? What the heck is hiding behind this Ninetales? They want to stay in against a Shadow Aqua Tail user. Oh my god. The opponent didn't respect the Aqua Tail. They near get one shot and then very strangely concede the match. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow and Shadow Crime with Gyarados into Torterra. The opponent says no thank you. Say switch into Morpeko, and here comes Charjabug. If you're Charjabug in this scenario, you never want to shield the first move, because one is survivable. They're either going to go for a cheeky little Psychic Fangs looking to debuff you, or full send an Aura Wheel that is resisted as Electric does resist itself. X is either going to knock out or force the first protection of the game. To my surprise, the opponent actually elect to let Morpeko go down. People who run Morpeko generally look to 2-shield it, but we're not complaining. Back out comes Torterra. Oh my gosh, Charjabug absolutely popping off, landing back-to-back nukes. Out comes Machoke, and that is yet another top left. Heading into the next battle, we lead Shadow Gyarados into Corviknight. We actually simultaneously swap, and we see Charjabug into Dragonair. Charjabug going to waste no time, firing off the X-Scissor. As this is Shadow and Shadow Crime, it's likely forced their shield. X-Scissor does exactly that. Unless the opponent's running Dragon Pulse, any one move should be survivable. The opponent fire off the Aqua Tail. Charjabug hold strong. Oh, we die at the next move. That is heartbreaking. I'm anticipating Devoncheddar going for the 1-shield and farm down, but he's actually going to call. The opponent doesn't have Dragon Pulse. Wrap hits for neutral and a lot of neutral damage at that. Devoncheddar looks for the farm down, just about able to get it on fractional HP. We see the charge move bank and the pivot into Reicho. The opponent opts to stay in and don't even look to fake anything that isn't an air cutter, which is going to be an easy tank for Reicho. Ah, you've got to be kidding me. The opponent gets the boost on the first go, meaning these sand attacks are really going to start chunking through our HP. We fire off the Aura Spear. Aura Spear isn't quite lethal, and the opponent is going to reach Wonder Part and Air Cutter. At this point, we really need to start shielding. If not, Devoncheddar is going to do his best impersonation of me and die with 2. Out comes Malamar. Did then boosted sand attacks do enough damage to prevent us reaching double Aura Spear. The first one forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. Heartbreakingly, we don't reach the next one. And unfortunately, that is going to be curtains for us, whilst Crunch is going to hit hard, not hard enough to pick up the one-hit KO, and this one does end in heartbreaking defeat. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Gyarados into Cradilly, a matchup that's greatly improved for Gyarados this season due to our new lightning-fast pacing. Gyarados taking only 9 turns to the charge move, where they reached their first one after 14. We actually find a rare Cradilly user that doesn't shield the first move, but Devoncheddar is going to shield up the first move, as Rock Tomb would easily knock out the glassy Gyarados. The opponent obtain a shield advantage, then pivot into Morpeko. Gyarados is at -1, but Aqua Tail still forced to Protect Shield. People who run Morpeko essentially shield everything. We then see the counter swap into Charjabug. Charjabug going to be greeted with the Aura Wheel that is resisted, but still does crazy damage. Charjabug going to be able to outpace to the X's, and the opponent now has a decision to make. Are they going to go all in on one Peko, or are they going to let it go? X's forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, and I think at this point we just let it go, and it is going to be Shadow Raikou time. Devoncheddar agrees, and he's now got Shadow Raikou with its magical Ghost and Fighting coverage with a 1-0 shield advantage. Reicho hits the field of play. The opponent is boosted, and we're going to give up the final Protect Shield. Hopefully we don't get Psychic Fangs baited. Of course we do, and we're now very annoyingly debuffed. We look to throw one Volt Switch and the Aura Spear, but the opponent read us like a book, catch back onto the low health Cradily. We go for the full undercharge, which should enable a resisted Volt Switch farm down afterwards. We actually bank the move, see the pivot into Gyarados, and look to load up on energy. The opponent sends out Lapras. Lapras going to be greeted with the Crunch. Crunch, not going to be lethal, but we've also got an Aura Spear banked. As long as the opponent doesn't make back-to-back catches, I think we're home and dry. Reicho re-enters the arena. The opponent does have a charge move bank, but Reicho easily wins the charge attack priority. Now the opponents reset that debuff. They're also back in the electric form. One charge move would be survivable. They don't even reach one. We're able to Volt Switch farm down and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Togekiss in the lead position. Not a particularly good matchup, but two very good answers in the back. The opponent bank a charge move before sending out Gastrodon. So team working as intended. Reicho now gets to avoid the ground type, and the opponent gives us a huge energy lead too, and look how much an X-Scissor does. We see the instant shield deployed as Devoncheddar looks to fight for switch advantage. Here I'd like to see him throw 2 Volt Switches and the charge move, which would be optimal. So using a 4-turn move into a 3-turn move can be awkward. Ideally you want to throw 2 quick moves, which would be 8 turns into 9, or 5 quick moves, which would be 20 turns into 21. Once again, only given 1 free turn, hence optimal. Charjabug putting in so much work in this mid-game matchup, an electric type, forcing both protections of a ground type and even leaving them in the red health range. We send back out Gyarados, and Gyarados looks to operate as a damage sponge. Body Slam has been buffed this season, but Gyarados should easily survive too. The RPS Slug is going to reach one departing Body Slam. We actually send out Reicho, a snipe with a Volt Switch. We do take a Mud Slap in the process, but we are now ahead on energy. Back out comes Togekiss, which is certainly an interesting play. Trainer, are you weak in the back? We shield the Aura Spear. The opponent then pivots out into the Steel Penguin. Uh-oh, Trainer. The Steel Penguin going to be straight in and straight out. Aura Spear going to pick up that one-hit KO. Back out comes Togekiss. Reach one departing Aura Spear. This is double resisted and potentially isn't going to knock out. It doesn't quite knock out, but the next Volt Switch gets the job done, and Reicho sweeps the entire team. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Gyarados into a Bomber Snow. Interestingly running Leafage. I've actually showcased this Pokemon this week. All the Bomber Snow I've seen have actually ran Powder Snow. I can't believe no one's considering Leafage. I think this Leafage of Bomber Snow is definitely a very slept on pick. Charjabug gonna fire off the X-Scissor. X-Scissor forces the Protect Shield. The opponent continues to stay in. We're already the next X-Scissor, and a Bomber Snow now finds itself with no shields to hide behind. However, the opponent does leave with residual energy good to go and almost full health. We send back out Gyarados. Gyarados can tank one Icy Wind. Interesting move choice from the opponent. The regular Bomber Snow usually runs Icy Wind, whereas the Shadow normally opts for the faster pace on Weather Ball, especially this season as Weather Ball does do additional damage. Gyarados kind of obliged to shield this up, because if not, Reicho will be stuck with a debuff. We're never able to reset. The opponent then pivots out into Dugong in some crazy ABA Ice strategy with a complete disrespect to fighters. Speaking of which, we've got fighting type coverage. Reicho makes quick work of big bad bulky Dugong. Dugong gets one shot vanquished back to its Pokeball. Back out comes a Bomber Snow, but a Bomber Snow is going to get outpaced. Reicho about to claim back-to-back victims as a Bomber Snow swiftly gets returned back to its Pokeball. The opponent's final Pokemon is Big Man Blastoise. The opponent doesn't want the smoke, and they concede the match. In the next battle, we see the silly electric fish in the lead position. We stay in to check the quick move, and as they're on Spark, we make a very good decision and retreat into Charjabug. The opponent chip us with the Surf before retreating into the annoying Marshmallow. I feel like me and this person would not get on. If they've got a Bastille on the back, being locked in a room with this trainer would probably be my idea of hell. Chargerbug gonna fire off one further discharge, putting Wigglytuff deep into the red health range. Back out comes Gyarados, and Gyarados looks to operate as the damage sponge. Let's be honest, Gyarados isn't the best damage sponge. It is very glassy. We tank the Swift, see the Snipe with Reicho, and look to load up an energy. Lantern re-enters the arena, potentially revealing the weak in the back. Is it actually Bastion on? Surely not. The opponent opts to shield the Seal Electric Fish, and the alarm bells are really starting to ring. Devoncheddar, recognising whatever's in the back, is petrified of Reicho and more than happy to match Protect Shield. Devoncheddar once again over farms, fires off the Aura Spear. Is the opponent willing to 2-shield? Oh boy, something's about to get nuked. Reicho starting to smell blood in the water, going to be investing that Protect Shield before looking for the Volt Switch farm down. Finally, the opponent pivots out into Togekiss, not wishing to concede a farm down. But Togekiss is going to make a very brief cameo appearance. Shadow Ball, have no doubt, picks up the one-hit KO. The Silly Electric Fish temporarily makes a return before the opponent concedes the match. Reicho absolutely popping off. Heading into the next battle, we see in the Dream Lead as Shadow Gyarados stares down Marowak. The opponent safe switches into the Steel Penguin, which is one of the best safe switches currently in the Open Great League, unless you face Devoncheddar or some other mad lad running some crazy double electric backline. I think if I was playing, I would have just thrown 2 Volt Switches and the Aura Spear and looked to at least force a Protect Shield back or just knock out the Penguin. Because like this, we're now down both Protect Shields. Back out comes Marowak. Marowak greeted with the Aura Spear. Aura Spear forces the first Protect Shield back. Devoncheddar doubled up. Looks to fire off the Aqua Tail, and I imagine we're going to pivot out. Why would you shield that? Oh boy, trainer. We give the opponent that wham, bam, combo play, serve at the Big Mac and the fries. That they didn't order. Aqua Tail, not quite a one-hit KO. And a weird turn of events. It's us that's about to get one shot. Rockside removes Gyarados from the field of play. We send out Charjabug. Charjabug looks to the resisted. Volt Switch farm down. The opponent not wishing to concede a farm down. Send out Dugong. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you this is not a good matchup for them. Discharge really isn't the best move, but the Volt Switches have already done a lot of damage, and Discharge leaves them on fractional HP. The opponent fire off the Icy Wind. We bank the charge move, snipe with Reicho. Marowak is going to be able to mud slap farmers down. We've got a charge move locked and loaded, and I'm a big fan of this play. Bad manners for the win. GG's, and thanks for playing. Is it necessary to throw a double resisted discharge on a low health Marowak? Super necessary. Heading into the next battle, we see Meowscarada in the lead position. We see a simultaneous swap, and Charjabug now faces off against Goodra. Goodra is going to strike first. We are actually going to see a Protect Shield deployed here. We're going to shield at the Aqua Tail as Devoncheddar looks to flip switch advantage. Goodra, much like Gyarados, insanely spammy. Of course, using the exact same moveset of Dragon Breath plus Aqua Tail, both taking 9 turns, believe it or not. Devoncheddar going to fire off the first X-Scissor. X-Scissor gets no respect. We farm up, throwing one further Volt Switch before unleashing the next X-Scissor. If the opponent lets this go, ensure we've got residual energy, good to go. We actually see the pivot into Gyarados, baiting Meowscarada back into the arena. Gyarados going to burn the final Protect Shield. Shielding up the Night Slash, which is a bit questionable to be honest. You don't really want to shield the first Night Slash because it does have a 10% chance or perhaps a 12.5% chance of getting the boost. Either way, a small chance, which thankfully they do not get. The opponent then sends out Dusclops. Dusclops going to be greeted with the Crunch, and Crunch is going to strip away the first Protect Shield. The opponent looks to heavily overfarm before releasing the Shadow Punch, and this game looks like it's going to get very, very dicey. I think Devoncheddar is definitely relying on making a catch to have any chance of winning this battle. Reicho enters the arena. Devoncheddar farms up, tries to make the catch. Catch attempt unsuccessful. We get fully Hex farm down. Oh man, I think this is just a loss. The opponent with so much energy. The first Shadow Punch doesn't quite get the job done. The doubled up. The second Shadow Punch certainly will. And this one is going to end in defeat. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle. Devoncheddar leads Shadow Gyarados into Big Man Blastoise. This team is actually ABA weak to Rock. Charjabug is our second thing weak to Rock, but I'd much prefer to be Charjabug than Big Man Blastoise. We do say switching to Charjabug, baiting out Corviknight. Trainer, what are you doing? That has to be a misclick, or potentially they're just triple weak to Electric, one of them teams that completely believes that Electric types are a myth. And if that's the case, this is going to be a very rough battle for them. We farm up to the double discharge. The opponent shields the first. Charjabug unleashes the second and very quickly forces the opponent all shields down. We see the instant no-shield deploy from Devoncheddar. If this is their best electric type counter, Reicho, with 2 to no-shield advantage, should have no problem cleaning up. Reicho hits the field of play, gets a very nice 2 Volt Switch running start. They're not actually triple weak to Electric, so it must have been a misclick. Out comes Whimsicott. Whimsicott greeted with the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball does ridiculous damage. Reicho going to invest the first Protect Shield. Before resisted, Volt Switch farming down, and I'm sure we all know how this one's going to end. Big man Blastoise doesn't want the smoke, and the opponent concedes the match. If Devoncheddar was actually running PvP Poke's recommended moveset of Volt Switch plus Aura Spear and Wild Charge, that Whimsicott would have actually fully walled us. Heading into the next battle, we see Cradilly in the lead position. This one is the Bullet Seed variant. They are applying less fast move pressure, however are a bit quicker to the charge moves. Devoncheddar can't really afford to catch out of this, because what do you catch on? We are ABA weak to rock. With that in mind, we take our shield advantage, send out Charjabug. Chargerbug is going to be forced to shield up the incoming Rock Tomb. Then again, we can go for the correct 2 Volt Switches and the X-Scissor. And at this point, X-Scissor should be lethal after the Volt Switch plus Dragon Breath damage. Charjabug unleashes the X-Scissor. X-Scissor isn't quite lethal, but we're able to snipe with Reicho. Reicho now has a 1 Volt Switch running start. And out comes Carbink. Well, we're definitely not complaining. This is certainly where we want to see the Carbink. We are ABA weak to rock, and the opponent has not 1 but 2 rock types. However, it's kind of worked out nicely for us, as Reicho is aligned in the correct matchup. This is definitely a matchup where you can see the buff to Volt Switch. They're actually shredding through Carbink's HP, but likewise, we're not tanking these rock throws particularly well. Devoncheddar shields up the power gem. It looks like he's going for an ambitious Volt Switch farm down. Oof. It pains me to say that their Carbink user made a very nice play, sniping down all that energy. Can we still win this game? Can we survive a Shadow Hydro Cannon? No. Well, yes, but not particularly well, and that one does end in heartbreaking defeat. Honestly, that team, what do you do against Annihilate? Annihilate would be your dad. Heading into the next battle, we see another Pokemon that absolutely body that last team, in the form of Scrafty, the fighter that needs to pull its trousers up. Gyarados is a decent matchup into Scrafty, but they do have access to Thunder Punch that of course would be double super effective. Potentially could have stayed in, farmed up some energy before eventually pivoting out. But Devoncheddar opts to instantly retreat into Charjabug. We tank the foul play, fire off back-to-back discharges. The second discharge removes Scrafty from the field of play, and out comes Guzzlord. The opponent looking for that Dragon Tail farm down, unable to get it before the X-Scissor is reached, and X-Scissor should be forced in the first protection of the game, and it does exactly that. This is the second consecutive battle that believes Annihilate's a myth. I guess with both fairies and flyers being buffed, it's a lot less common this season and people are completely disrespecting it. This team comp's almost as wild as the last one. What does this team do against a fairy type? Fairies are super common, with Togekiss being one of the most common one in the meta. Looks like Devoncheddar going to put all his hopes and dreams on the back of Reicho with a 2-to-1 shield advantage. The opponent forces one of them Protect Shields before sending out Toxapex. This is not a matchup Toxapex will appreciate. Oh my days, look at the Volt Switch damage go. Reicho will be looking for the 1 shield. A full Volt Switch farm down. Our Wincon is going to be reaching the double Aura Spear at the returning Guzzlord. We're not quite doubled up. Can we survive 2 additional Dragon Tails? We're now at the double. Do we survive that Dragon Tail? And are we going to be emerging victorious? The first Aura Spear will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. Reicho holds strong, reaches Aura Spear number 2, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's that opponent. I'm sure a lot of you know, or at least anyone that's on the Discord will know, that Reicho is one of the very few Shadow Pokemon I currently don't have. And the more I shoutcast these battles, the sadder and sadder I become. In the next battle, we saw a Steel Penguin in the lead position. We say switch into Charjabug, baiting out Latias. I normally always get Latias and Latios confused, but thankfully I shoutcasted Zerafelro's battles just yesterday. So I know the red one is Latias and the blue one is Latios. It's only took me like 5 years to memorise that. I'm old, alright, give me a break. The opponent's looking for the full Dragon Breath farm down. Oh, I thought we made that move. Heartbreaking, we do not. If this is a miss ball, we're going to be straight in and straight out. Oh crap, that certainly is a miss ball. And it's all down to Reicho once again to pull off the full sweep. Reicho looking for the Volt Switch farm down, unable to get it before the departing charge move's reached. We're going to shoot at the Aura Spear. The opponent then sends back out the Steel Penguin, but the Penguin going to be straight in and straight out. And it all comes down to what is that third. Is it something that Reicho can one-shot? Ask and you shall receive. Out comes Drifblim. Drifblim going to be straight in and straight out. Reicho You monster, man. Honestly, please put it back in Shadow Rays. This is a joke I don't have one. Heading into the next battle. The temptation to rage quit this recording at this point in protest for not having a Reicho is very, very real. In the next battle, we see Gyarados into Gyarados. We bank some energy, send out Charjabug, baiting out Cradilly. By no means is this a great matchup. However, we do hit back for super effective. But the issue for us is our Volt Switches are resisted. The Acids are neutral on the Rock Tomb would very easily pick up a one-hit KO. Charjabug going to invest Protect Shield, blocking up the Rock Tomb. In an attempt to flip switch advantage, or worst case scenario, at least force Protect Shield back here in the mid-game matchup. I actually really like playing out the one shields the more I think about it, as we've seen time and time again, the fewer shields that are in play, the better Reicho performs. We've actually done enough damage on this Cradilly. We can just Dragon Breath farm down and get a whole heap of energy on Gyarados. Gyarados gets that Dragon Breath farm down. You can see we're spamming the switch. Oh no, the pancake. No! No. Trainer, what are you doing? The opponent goes to the classic, you switch, I switch, and then in turn, they've absolutely thrown the game. All Devoncheddar's got to do is get this thing into Aqua Tail range. Shadow Ball should certainly achieve that feat. The opponent actually shielded this move up, potentially thinking a move from Reicho does more than the super effective Aqua Tail. I've actually just looked up on PvPoke. Shadow Gyarados Aqua Tail does exactly 50%. A Shadow Ball from Shadow Raikou does 48.8, so it's pretty much the same, but regardless, this game will be victory. We should at the discharge, fire off the second Aqua Tail, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we lead Shadow Gyarados into Corviknight. Have no doubt we're going to be instantly pivoting into Charjabug and seeing what the opponent's best electric type counter is. We managed to bet out Gastrodon, which is fantastic for us, the team working as intended. Reicho now doesn't have to see this threat in the endgame. Potentially we can obtain a shield advantage or just take back switch if the opponent settle for a body slam here. The opponent clearly quite smart, throw the water balls that does remove us from the field of play, but in turn this is just going to set up a massive Dragon Breath farm down for Gyarados. Gyarados going to be more than content to tank whatever the opponent throw. They fire off the body slam, Gyarados shrugs off the damage. Gyarados gets that Dragon Breath farm down and we are spamming the switch. Let's go Reicho, let's go Reicho. The opponent sends Corviknight temporarily into the arena before pivoting out into Cradilly, but behind an energy, Reicho quite favoured in this matchup as we are so quick to these Aura Spears that do hit for super effective. The opponent burns the first Protect Shield, we're more than content to match knowing we're going to continue to outpace. However, the unfortunate thing for us is the longer this matchup goes, the more and more debuff we're going to become. Reicho unleashes the next Aura Spear. The -1 Aura Spear forces the opponent all shields down. Unfortunately, switch time isn't quite up, so we're forced to burn the final Protect Shield. I imagine we're going to bank this move and reset that debuff. The opponent actually go for the wham, bam combo play. Settle for the air cutter, but air cutter simply doesn't get the job done. We see the Aura Spear banked and the pivot back into Gyarados. Gyarados fires off the first Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail isn't quite lethal. We waste no time, fire off the next Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail will be moving Corviknight from the field of play. All we've got to do is Dragon Breath them into a range where Aura Spear will be lethal. The opponent recognise they're approaching Aura Spear range and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle, we see Gyarados into Shadow Dusknoir. We're going to say switch into Charjabug. Once again, looking to bait out the opponent's best electric type counter. Well, that certainly is a good electric type counter. Although in fairness, Reicho now has got access to Aura Spear, can at least fight back. Speaking of fighting back, let's not write Charjabug off. We're never ever flipping this matchup, but two Shadow X's do definitely put them in a range when Aqua Tail will knock them out. Fire Punch, super effective. Doesn't quite knock us out, enabling a farm down afterwards, but unless they're on Hyper Beam, which I highly doubt, Gyarados is going to completely wall this energy. We've seen Devoncheddar super aggressive in some of the previous battles. I wouldn't be surprised if he attempts to fully Dragon Breath farm down Diggersby. It looks like that is the play he's going to opt for. We're going to leave low with a lot of energy, so I don't dislike that play. Gyarados gets the farm down, leaving almost doubled up on crunches. The opponent sends out the Steel Penguin. Empoleon going to be greeted with the Crunch. Crunch able to land, and we see the aggressive pivot into Reicho, baiting Dusknoir back into the arena. The opponent doesn't throw at particularly good timing, and we are sneaking a Volt Switch. We shield up the Shadow Punch. The opponent's doubled up once again, giving us yet another free Volt Switch, and I can already see the writing on the wall for this opponent. Reicho going to be at the double Aura Spear. which we all know is going to be forcing both Protect Shields. The first one forces the opponent's first Protect Shield. Reicho fires off Aura Spear number 2. And it's time to give the opponent that classic wham, bam, combo play. Right on cue, Gyarados enters the arena with that crunch locked and loaded. And we're going to end today's video with a big fat dub. GG's and thanks for playing. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's shoutcast. As always, Devoncheddar bringing that fire. I'll be honest, buddy, you've made me incredibly sad that I don't have access to Shadow Raikou. Please, Niantic/Scopely, please, please, please bring it back to Shadow Raid so I can finally get my hands on one of these Pokemon. I think Reicho running that magical Ghost and Fighting type coverage is an absolute monster in the closing position that Devoncheddar displayed today. It swept so many teams. As I mentioned in the intro, there would only be one Pokemon, or one family of Pokemon to be more precise, that could fully wall Reicho on this moveset. If you're looking for the answer, it of course is going to be Hisuian Zoroark and its evolution, Hisuian Zoroark. However, let's be honest, you are never ever going to see that Pokemon in battle unless you queue into someone like Calamonto. So we may as well at this point say it is going to be completely unwallable. With all that being said, if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, link to my battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.